So, moving on. So, I'm going to start with the basics and we're going to gradually advance. We have some people that are just looking to get started, but we have a lot of people in here that have been in the business and have done deals, which I love. And we can talk about that and see how we can help each other with that. So, my main way of doing business is building relationships. So, like I said, I actually taught at Keller Williams Clear Lake for 6 years, once a month. I didn't miss a month before COVID. Two realtors on investing. So, starting with the basics. The best way, I believe, to get started in real estate investing is wholesaling. Right? What is wholesaling? My definition of wholesaling is bringing a property that's not on market to market at 70% of the ARV minus repairs. So I see some people like, so after repair value, you're going to get that from comps, okay? Then you just take that number, 70% of that minus the repairs. So for example, anyway, so for example, $200,000 ARV if it's all fixed up, 70% is $140,000. If it needs $40,000 in repairs, then I'll buy it at $100,000. So you as the wholesaler need to get it at what price, Cody? If I'm buying it for 100.
Like 30,000.
Yeah. So if he gets it for 30, I'll pay him $70,000 for his contract gladly, and I paid up to $130,000 for a contract before. So this is not something that I'm just saying, go do it, you do it. I've done it. Right, Lorena? You've seen it? Okay. So, again, just to me, this is basics, right? And I actually talked at somebody's meetup yesterday, and it helped me add a few slides to my slides here. So they basically asked, what fears did I have when I was starting? And, a lot of people, I don't know, I think this is more of what a lot of people that I see have the fear of. Oh, I don't have any money. I need to get a buyer before I put something under contract that I'm going to buy. Oh, I need contractors to fix it up. I need deals, I need knowledge, right? So all I can talk about is from my experience, right? And what I see with some others, but in my experience, I just go. Sometimes I go, and I have to step back and be like, wait a minute, let me come up with a plan, right? So I'm an action taker. So you obviously don't need any money with wholesaling. You obviously don't need any money with wholesaling. And if you don't understand that, then we can dive deeper into that. But you just need a little gas money and time, right? Oh, I need a buyer before I put something under contract that I'm going to wholesale to them. No, you don't. No, you don't. You need a deal first. If you have an actual deal, there are tons of buyers out there. How many people are buying right now that have good deals? Raise your hand. Yeah, there's all your buyers, right? So that's not a good fear to have because they're all around you. I need a contractor. You definitely need a good contractor, but again, you don't need that up front. You can wholesale it until you find somebody good, right? I need deals. You definitely need deals. But that obviously can be handled through your marketing in the ways you're going to get it. And we're going to talk about how you're going to market it. All right. And you definitely need the knowledge, but that's only about 20% of what you're doing here. 80% is the action and the consistency you're taking. The most common mistakes I see with new people is they're not valuing the ARV correctly. They're like, oh, I need a deal. And the actual ARV is 180 grand. They're like, oh, I could go for 200 grand. If it's like the nicest house that has sold for the highest in the neighborhood ever, that's never a good perspective to use, right? You always want to be conservative with your numbers, right? If the comps are saying 180 grand in today's market, I'm going to say 170 to 180. Repairs, you're going to add up all of your repairs, and you're going to add 20% to that for oops money. for when you open the walls and you didn't see the termites, or you didn't see all that messed up electrical, or whatever the reason. I mean, I remember I started with Tom Berry about 18 years ago. He was like my second dad, and we used to wholesale together, and I remember bringing him a deal, and I was like, yeah, it's a deal. Without that extra 20% for repairs. And he's like, Nathan, I've never bought a deal that I didn't use that extra 20% for repairs, right? So that's how important it is to be conservative with all this, right? Contractors, oh man, I've heard lots of horror stories with that, right? So I don't know what to say about that, but be careful. And again, going back to what I was saying, not being conservative. You need to be conservative with all your buys. And if they're pushing the numbers and you're doing a deal just to do a deal, don't do it. Don't do it, right? Just save yourself the headache and the pain, right? So this is one that they did yesterday. So if I started from scratch, what would I do different? I would work on cash flow and not these flips that they put on TV. Flips are great. I made 6 figures on flips and they're great. But cash gets taxed and spent, right? Cash flow consistently comes in every month, right? Also, I wouldn't, and I did this with, I was in a small group, and I was like, oh, you know, I bought some of these, I bought some of this myself. I've been doing this 18 years, remember that. I bought a house in Lamarck, 2-bedroom, 1-bath, with a garage. I converted the garage, 3-1. I bought it, and y'all know that. I bought it for $17,000, right? And I put probably 30 in it, and it appraised for 140. And so, there's a big difference there, right? And we'll talk about that, cashing out. But if I started over, I wouldn't have refinancing cashed out my rentals, right? Because that's where more cash flow could come from too, right? All right. So I get asked a lot, how do I find deals? I get asked this question, where do you get your deals? So we're gonna dive into this one. So how I get deals and how you get deals might be very different. I think it's based on personality. Right? So if I tell a technical person to go talk to 150 people, wholesalers that have deals and go to all these different events, what are they going to do? They're probably going to fail, right? And if I tell a social person, to go start a website and get 100 organic leads coming into their website and you'll get deals that way, well, they're going to fail too, right? So I think it's based on your personality, right? So my personality, I'm a social driver. So I'm social first. I talk to a lot of people, and I'm a driver. I'm gonna plow through stuff and get it done, but I'm not making a mess doing it, right? So that's what I use, right? But if you're technical, then go work those websites. Go figure out your process and system for that, right? If you're a driver, you're just going to hustle your butt off till you get them, right? And if you're compliant, maybe you partner with somebody, help somebody out to get those going. So, let's see. So, wholesaling and flipping. So we discussed wholesaling and flipping is a whole other animal. Y'all seen it on HGTV. I don't need to tell y'all, we'll discuss some deals here. But who started with flipping? Anybody in here? All right. So did y'all make any mistakes? Would y'all care to share what you learned from that so other people can learn?
I would say underestimating the repair values.
Yeah.
Cost and finding good contractors.
Yeah.
That are reliable.
Mm-hmm.
Those are some of the things. Having a team is great.
Mm-hmm.
Keeping the team
So maintaining, the ARV, the contractors, those are all very common mistakes, right? Anybody else want to share on their flip, is what they, go ahead.
So the first flip I had was a pretty heavy flip, but, I figured a flip is like project management.
Yeah.
And so, with my background, I was able to do it, but it was challenging, this is back in 2003. But the one thing about a flip, when you're flipping property, I want to share with everybody, is that you still are, it's still the same challenges with the first flip to your 100th flip. You're always looking, how could I squeeze more out of that flip? Could I have done something different? How much value add do I add to the flip before I take it to market? You know, all those things, and I still do it to this day. How could I squeeze that orange a little bit, that lemon a little bit harder to get something out of it? So it's a process of improvement, you know.
I like that. Yeah, something I didn't hit on, but I see commonly what you mentioned is over improving the property, right? So, you know, you're like, oh, I want to put gold and all that, right? Like, well, what do your comps look like? Do they have gold, or do they have the cheapest granite you can find? And did they get top dollar for that because of it, right? And so you don't want to, again, you don't want to be, this is not an ego thing, right? And this is not a, hey, I want to do deals to do deals. This is a making money business, right? You're here to make money, right? So if you want to, if you need to put in, you need to put in what the flips sold for and nothing more. I said that you want to stand out a little bit. What we do to stand out a little bit, very inexpensively, and you'll see on all of our flips, is we put accent walls. We put accent walls, that's $500, but it stands out. And we do wood, we typically do wood in the front as far as, usually with, you know, window shutters or by the door, something like that. So, yes, sir.
What I would say is when I started flipping is I want to build it the way I want it, and that might be a lot higher, going back to what Carlos said. And then, of course, definitely knowing, it's easy to go cheap, you know, everybody's wanting to get the multiple bids and this and that, and then you, because we're in business to make money, you want to go to the cheapest person. It's always the wrong person. So pay a little more, pay a little more, and having all of your materials to start with, time is money. People don't realize, even if you pay cash for it or borrow money or however you're flipping it, time is money. So having all of your materials on site so that you can, and if you're not the GC, making sure that everyone's aligned with, you know, if you got your roofer and your electrician and your plumber and you know, because when someone needs to be in the house at all times.
Yes, all good points. Yeah, time is money for sure, and time will kill deals, especially if you have holding costs.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So is there a rule of thumb on when you flip a home on the percentage that you want to make in the time? In other words, I'll be in this house for 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks, and I want to make 20%, 50%, whatever that number is, right? Is there a general rule that you guys follow for that would help maybe us newcomers?
That's a whole other thing.
Yeah, so.
Is that something you're going to get into?
So, yeah, you know, we're borrowing for a 6-month term from our private lenders, right? So we want to be in 6 months or less. Obviously, the quicker the better.
Right.
And if you were making 20, you know, there's that 30% spread, and we're going to dive deep into that here in a minute. But we're not making 30%, right? If we make 20%, that's a pretty good deal, right? So, you know, market's always changing. We were always, for years and years and years, getting an offer first month because we price it right. We're the best thing on the market. But, you know, that changes. So you can be in, I would say, 3 to 4 months and make 20%. That's really what we've been hitting, and that's the goal. So it doesn't always work out that way.
Yeah.
But
That's the target.
Yeah, that's the target. Yeah. Do you agree?
Makes sense.
I'd say the biggest thing I've learned is the blue tape inspections at the end.
Yeah.
You know, I held back $5,000 from my first contractor,
Yeah.
and I mean, that's a part of the whirlwind for him. You know, he doesn't care about $5,000, so I'm gonna hold back 10 to 15 grand at the very end until that blue tape inspection's done, and I'm gonna pick it apart, and that way he knows the standard if I'm gonna work with him throughout several years. Because if you kind of let something slide at the very beginning, you know, he's gonna kind of catch on and know what he can get away with.
Right, we're gonna start the process and system off right with them. Yeah. All right, let's.
Yeah, one real quick thing to that.
Yeah, go ahead.
So you got blue tape up, that's good. One thing that I've added when I ran a construction company for the last 7 years was rolling blue tape inspections. Meaning doing blue tape throughout the project to catch that drywall in the middle of it versus at the end when you gotta do more work to fix it.
Right before you run.
Yeah, so try to do your rolling blue tapes. That's what I learned has been a saver in the process. And then you have a lot smaller list at the end.
Well, just to piggyback on that too, my first contractor, my first flip, he would want like 30 grand up front to start.
Yeah.
And
Big word.
yeah, well, now I'm on a weekly schedule.
Yeah.
It's like that, and I established that in writing,
Mhm.
and I'll just like leave it open-ended, like a written deal, like, all right, this is when you're gonna get paid,
Mhm.
et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
So just like every Friday you're gonna get paid.
Yeah, let's talk about that real quick. So, big red flags with contractors. They want a bunch of money up front. All right, what does that mean? First of all, they're probably living at house to house or paycheck to paycheck, right? And almost 90% of the time, that's not gonna work out, right? So, you know, so I have given a small amount to get started and then go inspect and then move on from there. But if they can start with their own money and then you come, okay, here, I'm releasing to you what you've done. Do the next 20 grand, I'll release to you what you've done there. All the way to the end, that's the best case scenario, right? That's all our money lenders do, right? So, and they're protecting their lien on the property. So you should protect your money. So the reason I wanted to open that up is because I wanted to point out the big difference between wholesaling and flipping, right? You see, in flipping, you can get some big fees, but you can get some big fees with wholesaling too. I made 130 grand on a wholesale, right? I made 2 grand too, right? Right? So, but my point is that flipping, you're putting your name on the line, you're risking your money and your time, it's taking a lot more time, and there's way more involved, there's a lot more that could go wrong than wholesaling, right? So that's why I always say start with wholesaling, to get your feet wet and learn all those things we talked about. All right. So, yeah, so some other good things with wholesaling. Yes, sir.
I tell people also, if you don't understand it, JV with somebody.
Yeah.
That's a good way to get in and learn from them and, you know, get their contracts and learn, you know, get all their information that way.
Yeah, if you've got a great deal, you bring to somebody who's been, well, I'm sure they'll try to work something out with you. If you've got a great deal. All right, so, you know, just hitting on a couple of other things with wholesaling. So, when you're wholesaling, you get to learn the repair costs, not at your expense, right? You get to learn how to run your comparables, how to get your ARV, not an as-is sell, but you're looking at the ones that are fixed. You get really good at that.
Yes.
Because that by itself can throw, you gotta look at flood zones, you gotta look at school zones, you start learning all this stuff that can ruin your deal, right? You learn who's real, who can really close on these deals and who's just talk, because there's a lot of talkers, right? So, you learn the paperwork needed to wholesale a deal. What's all involved? People come to me, oh, how do you do this? Well, it is different paperwork. It's not a Shrek form. It's not an HAR form. It's not where realtors don't know how to do that, typically. You learn what title companies will and won't do wholesale deals. Because title companies are owned by attorneys, right? And if the attorney has never done a wholesale deal or doesn't know what it is, guess what the answer is? No, we don't do that. That's illegal, right? Or something, you know, anyway. Sorry, dramatic thing. Yeah, you learn that realtors believe a lot of these, that wholesale is illegal. That's what they think, right? Obviously, it's very illegal. It's been out there for a long time, I think years sometimes. I'm a realtor, by the way, so, you know, I love my realtors, but they can be haters sometimes. you learn all the risk that it takes, because you're probably gonna, once you wholesale to the investor, if you want to get into that, you're probably, looking at the project, checking in with them, seeing when it goes on the market, seeing how it goes, And again, some wholesale fees can be bigger than your flip deals, right? It just depends on how good a deal you get, right? All right, so we're gonna go over, so I'm gonna start building some duplexes to keep. And so we're gonna dive into that, and I can get like deep and technical, so if I get too deep, I'll just let me. But we're gonna talk about that for a minute. So what I did was, this is my actual own spreadsheet here. So what I did, I'll go over, this way. Sorry, moving on. Okay, there. All right. So what I did was I looked at 5 different cities, and what I evaluated was, when they're done, what is the value gonna be? All right. I don't know why it's like. All right, there. What is the value gonna be when it's built? What can I rent it for? What is my rent to price ratio? Okay, we'll talk about that. How much are the taxes? Our cost to build plus land costs, or all-in costs, and the insurance. Okay, and then the cash flow at the end. You can figure all that with a calculator. All right, so big overview here is taxes and insurance when you're keeping rental properties are huge. Okay, on deciding if it's going to be a good rental or not. I don't say, I'm going to buy rentals, so this next deal I get, I'm going to keep it as a rental. I never do that. I let the deal tell me if it's a good rental, or a good flip, or a good wholesale, because it's out in the heights. I don't do heights, and it's $700,000 ARV. I'm out. I'll wholesale it though, and I'll make money, right? All right, so what I did learn at first was there's not a lot of comps in these surrounding areas for new build duplexes. There's just not a lot of them. You see all that? No comps, right? All right. Now, there is one at the top, and I'm not going to disclose the city just because I know all of y'all are going to run over there and start doing it too. But we're going to go over everything else, all right? So there is one at the top, and this is not an actual comp. This is, my buddy did it. He uses the same refinance person as I do. And so I know it's going to appraise for that, or ours is going to be a little bit bigger. So I'm being conservative again and using his ARV. Okay. So his appraised for $525,000. All right. The next thing I learned was this city, I don't have it on here, but is 52% of the city are renters. Okay. So I can get $2,000 per side. All right. So what I'm building, so I had to back up a little bit. I had a flip in Texas City. It was 1,450 something square feet, 4-bedroom, 2-bath, and it felt big inside. It was a great layout. So we're going to do that on both sides. So we're going to have about 2,900 square feet total. Okay. So I can rent that out for probably more like 2,200, but again, I'm being conservative, right? 2,000 each side, all right? And what else did I find? I found 4 actives, 3-bedroom, 3-bedroom, 0, 4-bedroom, active, 1 pending, 6 pending. This is all just my personal notes here, so 1 pending, 6. All right, 1... So then there was a super nice one that they spent a lot of money on. They got $2,400 each side. All right. So if you look, I'm not going to go. We're going to go over each row and then look at the end. So the next city I looked at had no comps for duplexes, but the max I could get, the max top brand new builds, nice, $1,400. It's a big difference, right? The next city, I found 0 comps for rentals, so if there's no information, I'm like, okay, well, there's a better place where there is information, right? Not saying it couldn't work there, but I don't have any information. The next one was 1900 aside. That one was the next best. And then the last one, there were no comps, anything newer, but 4 bedrooms were getting 17 to 1800. All right. So then you want to look at your rent to price ratio. So what is the rent to price ratio? This is your all-in cost divided by your rent. Okay. So banks used to look at this. They used to want a certain percentage, but now when the rates are higher, it's kind of out the door. They're like, if you're cash flowing anything, we'll refinance you. This, that's what they're doing. So, but this one has, so if we didn't, and we'll talk about this here in a minute, if we didn't pay ourselves for building these and just cashed out what we had in it, it would be a 1.4% rent ratio. So, I can't pull out my phone because I'm on the Facebook Live, but if you take out 330 divided by $4,000, what do you get? Maybe it's backwards. But do that math, somebody. 330 divided by $4,000.
82.
1.2?
I think it's 1.2. You want 4,000 divided by 33.
Do that. Let's see.
It's 1.2.
1.2. Okay, so it's close. Yeah. So this is your rental price ratio. That's how you figure it out, right? All right. So then I looked at taxes, and honestly, the first city, there wasn't a whole lot of. Again, there was 0 comps, but there were some duplexes that they had. They were older, and they had a tax value again of $70,000. I was like, oh man, this is, even though their rate was a little higher, as you see 2.44, right, compared to the other ones, the actual value on the tax roll was way less. So what does that mean? That means you're paying less taxes at the end of the year, right? Because that's what they're valuing on. So now, but the guy I was telling you about, he built this one, and they had it valued at $333,000, which is kind of crazy, right? That's exactly what we're going to be in at, pretty much. So I didn't realize that. Anyway, so his tax bill is $8,162 a year. Okay. So then I looked at the other ones. 2.2% tax. What the rate they're taxing you on, and they value this one at $241,000, which is $53.61. So it's less, right? So that's maybe I should build there, right? But what you're doing is you're taking all of this information to make a decision, not just one piece of information, right? So then 2.2%, and they only valued it at $185,000, $4,000 a year. Next one's 2.3, $7,000, 2.2, and $7,000. Okay. All right, moving on, because we got to look at all of this to make a decision, right? And then I'll let y'all tell me which one you would build in. Okay. All right. So this is our, and then the main, our build cost is going to be the same, right? We're gonna, and again, I partner with y'all probably not going to get these prices. These are my prices, right? I partner with my contractor. If I hear you, best something that costs. Okay. So we're building at $90 a foot. Okay. Yeah, it's pretty inexpensive. Yeah. So, so our build cost is going to be the same, $243,000, right? Plus, but what makes it different is the land cost, right? In the different cities. So the first one is going to be about $30,000 to $50,000. So that means we're going to be in our build cost plus our land cost, $273,000 to $293,000, right? Next city, pretty much the same. The next city, we're going to be in less actually because the land's cheaper, $15,000 to $30,000, right? Okay, so we're going to take all of this and make a decision, not just one of these, right? The next city, 30 to 60, it's actually more. And the next city, which, I don't know if you remember that line, but the rents were $1,900. So we got to consider that. Sometimes it doesn't matter always how much you're in at, what you can rent it for, right? It is the most important at the end. And then the last one was the most expensive. All right. So here's another one that could throw you off big time. Insurance. All right. So the first one was actually the least expensive insurance, which I got a quote on. Okay. So when you're getting builder's risk, it's $2,800 a year, but then when you're refinancing, keep it long term, it's $4,000.
That's insane.
And then that's per year, right? The next one was 55 to 6. Again, 55 to 6. And why is that? Because some of this is Texas City, Lamar, places like that, and you're going to have windstorm insurance on top, right? And then the second to the last one throws it right out the door. Why? Because you have you have to have flood insurance. That will throw your rental off like crazy. Okay? So that one's out the door just because of that. All right? So then we're going to go to the end, and you can get your payment from a mortgage calculator that you can download. Loan You Later is a good one. You all should all have a mortgage calculator to figure these out. But so if we get the first one, it would be a $330,000 loan at 6.5% is $2,085 a month plus taxes and insurance is $3,099. Okay? Which, is kind of in the middle of all these if you're looking at them, right? But we're evaluating the whole package again, right? So the next one, these are all obviously the same numbers except the last one because the land was more. But anyway, so most of these are 330, so our payment's going to be the same, but the biggest one is taxes and insurance, right? So that's what I say. This is a big factor. So the next one is 458 and 446, so our payment is $29.89. Next one's 458 and 341, $28.84. And the last one is $32.75. Okay? So, then we're going to go to the last one here, which is the best one, right? So, if we pull zero cash, if we basically do not pay ourselves at all for building this property, that's going to take, it's going to take us probably 3 to 5 months to build. Okay, depending on the city and stuff, right? So if we're working for free that whole time, then we can make $901 a month. Why? Because let's go back, because our payment is $3,099 with taxes and insurance, and we're running it for what? $4,000, right?
Right.
All right. The next one is a negative number. Negative, you're going to lose $189 a month. Why? Because you can only rent it for $1,400 a side. All right? Then the next one, anyway, the last one was the best. You can still make $325 pulling no cash. All right? Now, what I didn't talk about yet, and what y'all are seeing here, is if we do pull cash out, if we pay ourselves for building that property, again, we're going to be all in at $330, and it's going to appraise for $550 guaranteed. Because the one that was smaller than ours appraised for $525, and I'm using the same refi guy, and I've already talked to him. So if we pull out $70,000 on the refinance for paying ourselves for building it, we will still cash flow $459 a month. Right? So where would y'all build at? Yeah. Right? And I wanted to go over this because you got to study this stuff. You can't just be like, oh, I like this area, or it's close to me, or no, you got to let the numbers tell you what to do. Right? Not because you want to do it. Right? So, anyway, this is what we're going to do with some new builds. We're going to identify a good amount of lots, and I'm looking forward to that. And we have not started with that. My business partner did build. He builds though. He finished building. If anybody's got a buyer, he's got a house He built, it's like 7,000 square feet, 7-bedroom, 7.5 bath. Every bedroom has a bathroom. It's like a piece of artwork. It's got kitchen in the back. It's on the green in Clear Lake. So anyway. All right, moving on. Any questions on the bills? Does that all make sense? Pretty. Did I break that down? Pretty detailed.
When you guys see like build costs outside of partnering, right? I think that's a fair estimate. 'Cause not a lot of people can partner with their contractor or their builder.
Yeah.
Per square foot, basic finishes, what do you guys see?
I was talking to some other of my investor friends.
Yeah.
I think they're doing it for 120 to 130 a
I was
foot.
just gonna say 120,
Yeah.
like basic standards, nothing,
Yeah,
nothing
nothing
huge.
super
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah, okay.
So, you know,
Just
and
for
that,
everybody to kind of hear, right?
Yeah.
'Cause when they're running their numbers, there's
Yeah.
no way they're gonna get 90.
right.
I know as a builder, that takes a different relationship.
Yeah, yeah. And us, you know, pulling the cash on the back, it's just paying us for the construction work, basically. It's
A lot of it depends on too, whether you build it on campaign, whether you go on slab, you can't just say, yeah.
Yeah.
There's factors.
awesome. Was that too much, or was that good? Alright. Alright, now we're gonna talk about some of the flips we got going. This is what they make TV shows about. This is what, you know, everybody said, this is the sexy part, right? I mean, this is, you know, it can be good, but it takes a while. What else? You know, you can make $48,000 on a flip. You can. That's some people's yearly salaries, literally. We gotta keep that in perspective, right? Anyway, I got the little thing. All right, so this section I call real deals, real numbers. That I like to literally put what I'm doing currently right now, right? And we're gonna break this down, all right? So, this is just a small condo that in Houston on Janetta, and this is what it looks like. That's the address. We're in a contract. We should be closing, I think we just signed an extension for the 4th of next month. All right, and we're going to talk about these numbers. And thank you, Fabian.
Sure.
Yeah. All right. So we bought it for $45,000. Yeah. So a really good deal. That's what we do. It's really good deals here. All right. We put $35,000 in it, and we borrowed $98,000. If anybody can do math, that math doesn't add up, right? What is 45,000 and 35,000? What does that equal? 80, right? Keep that in mind for later. All right. So we're under contract right now for $135,000. It took 46 days on the market. So the difference between 98,000 and 135,000 is 37,000. Is that what we're making? No. What numbers are we missing in this scenario? Huh? All the costs involved in doing a deal, right? Which most people just pass right over, right? We're going to break that down. We're going to get detailed here. All right. So we have our closing costs on the front end when we initially buy this, right? We borrow from private lenders, we pay points, and we have to pay for title, right? So that's almost $3,000 by itself. Then we have our holding costs. We're paying a mortgage to the private lender monthly. Typically is how we set it up, right? It's private money, we'll talk about that, you can be creative, but this is typically how we set it up. And this is our exact mortgage payment that we're gonna be in on. Insurance, and this is all prorated, right? Because if we were, what did I say? 42 days on the market, right? And it took us about a little less than a month to fix. So this is all prorated, this is not yearly, right? But our insurance is gonna run for while we own it, $723. Photos were $190. Cleaning, it was a small place, it's a condo, so $150. Closing costs on the back end. We gotta pay closing costs again, right? When we sell it? All right. So closing costs on the back end with realtor fees, $67.50. Okay? Taxes were $583. That's prorated. We did not do any seller contribution on this one, so thank goodness. We always buy a home warranty for the buyer. It's like insurance for us if something goes wrong. So they don't come to us, they can go to the home warranty and they'll get it fixed, right? And then repair requests after they did inspections was $650. It was minor because we're pretty thorough with all that. So the total cost on the back end was $14,169.34. So cash at closing though is $37,000, right? Minus the $14,000 equals $22,830.66. Now you remember earlier I said we were in at 80, but we borrowed 98, right? So what did we do there? We paid ourselves for buying the property. That make sense? I was pausing for a minute, yep, because
So you took,
I'm still like super excited about this after 18 years.
so you took a $98,000 loan, you took $18,000 and stuck it in your safe,
Yep.
and then you took the other $80K and did the property.
Yes. Yes, exactly.
How does that look like when you're?
We're gonna talk about that.
Okay.
We're gonna talk about that. So, paid yourself for buying the property. What does that mean? That means we could have probably wholesaled this to someone else and made that fee, right? But we just wholesaled it to ourselves. Okay? Let that sink in. All right. So, if we take the $22,830 plus the $18,000 wholesale fee, what is the total now? $40,830.56, or 30% of the sales price. Which, what did I say we're typically shooting for? 20% earlier when you asked, John? Right? Yeah. So this is a really good deal. Really good deal. All right? Now this is a smaller deal, right? Where it's a condo, it's $135,000, but the percentage and what we're making is not small. You know?
What was the sales price?
$135,000.
Okay, minus the wholesale fee, what was the percentage?
Minus the wholesale
Yeah,
fee,
you did wholesale it to yourself?
take $22,830 divided by 135. Yes, ma'am.
17.
There you go. So we're still on par with her too. Yeah. Yes, ma'am. Yes. Yes. I think I included, I probably missed that. Yeah, we probably have some HOA fees that I did not put on it. But what are they? Give it
458.
458. There
How
you
many
go.
bedrooms?
2 bedroom.
2.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
So Nathan, the rent, you can read across the number, and you can see the top number there, okay, $22,000 is, $23,000 is the net profit, right, or gross profit, you know, look at. But what he's done there is when you're flipping, you have to get strategic on your taxing strategy.
Yeah, that too.
So the 18,000 that he pulled, that's not taxable.
Boom.
So if you add that 18 to the 22, you're getting tax burden for that full, you're trying to burn off money on your expenses, but it's too late to finish the project.
18,000 is borrowed money, right?
It's borrowed money.
Yeah.
That is not, that's key.
Yeah.
That's what I'm gonna
100%. And I actually talk about that, and I didn't put that in this class, but I talk about.
So how did you determine $18,000?
Well, we'll talk about, so, moving on. So my private lender on this. So remember, I wholesaled it to ourselves for $18,000, right? Do you think that's excessive? Or did we just get a stupid good deal? Not God deal, good deal. I got a stupid good deal, right? 45,000, we're selling for 135. That's a stupid good deal, right? All right. Our private lender lent us 98,000 on a property worth 135,000, which is what? 72% of value, right? All in. Okay. Do you think he's happy? Do you think he feels secure being in at 72% on a super nice condo that's all fixed up?
Absolutely.
All right. And do you think, we're protecting him, his money, along with looking out for us and him, right? And when you understand the numbers and are ethical, This is how you can be creative to pay yourself for buying and making a profit so everybody wins. Right? Okay? So with private money, we are paying a higher than average rate of return on borrowed money backed by real estate assets. So if anybody wants to lend us some money, let me know. All right, so let's talk about that for a minute. And I'm hitting on a few things here. I don't know, this is an event, right? So we're hitting on a few things. All right. So we have private money versus hard money, right? Let's talk about hard money first. Cody, you borrow hard money, right? All right. So which one's easier?
Private.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so let's discuss that. So let's identify both first. So private money is just from someone that you know that has money in their checking account, 401k, IRA, and I borrow from all of those, that you have talked to and they know you're solid, right? Because you've done deals, they know you're ethical, right? And they want to make some money on their money. And they're not active, right? They're not finding the deals, contractors, selling, all of that crazy stuff that goes with it, right? So, so this is just really whatever you negotiate and y'all are both good with to move forward on a deal that they feel comfortable with. Right, John? That's how it works, right? Yeah. So, hard money is a company that typically, I'm not going to talk about rates because that can be all over the place. But what I'm going to talk about is hard money is going to, got to get the appraisal, got to get the inspection. If it's a $60,000 rehab, they want you to put your $20,000 in. They're going to come and charge you a fee and inspect and delay. Anyway, and then release 20 grand so you can move on and do the next 20 grand and do that again, right? So for me, hard money is harder to use. Now, if you don't have private money, is hard money a good option? Any answers? Yeah, it is. Hard money is like, hey, can I give you $5,000 to make 40? Yeah, all day long, right? That's what it is at the end of the day. It's pretty simple, right? Don't get caught up in 12% rate and all that. It's for 6 months. Will you trade $5,000 for 40? That's what it is, right? So, any questions on hard money and private? Does it make sense, the difference? Does it make sense what they are? Awesome. All right, moving on. All right, moving on to real deals, real numbers. So this one's on the market. This is a bigger one. So we bought this one for $325. We put $60,000 in it. So $325 plus 60 is $385. It's on the market for $550. And the difference, it's almost like 3 acres with a pond, a barn. It's in Santa Fe. I'll give you all the address, but you have a barn. And so the difference is $165,000. So, am I putting that in my pocket? No, right? You already know. All right, so we'll break this down, and then this is the last super detailed one like this. All right, so closing costs on the front end is $12,300. Mortgage payments, we've had it for 3 months so far, is almost $12,000. It's a bigger property, right? Insurance is $2,100. That's prorated. And when you cancel your insurance, you get money back. Because typically they do insurance. The shortest they'll do is 6 months. So if you sell it in 4, then you get two months back. You got to be on that. Don't forget it. Photos were $190. It's a bigger place, so $230 for cleaning. So closing costs on the back end, and I put the realtor fee different on this one. So closing fees on the back end is $82.50. All right, if we sell it for $550, and the realtor fees are $22,000. Seller contribution, I don't have that number right now, but we could definitely. It's probably going to happen. Home warranty $600, lawn service $800. It's almost 3 acres, so we got to hire somebody and pay them a little more. Repair requests after inspection's not there yet, but I threw in $1,500. Taxes are $42.54 for the 6 months. So all in, Cost on the back end, $64,000. It's a big number, right? So you gotta know your cost. You see how big this number is, especially on these bigger deals, right? You gotta know your cost. You're not gonna avoid them.
Yeah.
Right? All right, so know your numbers. So 165 minus 64 is about 100 grand, or 18% of the sales price, which is a good deal, right? So this is a 6-figure deal. So is that a good deal? Yeah, yeah. So anyway, I just wanted to break that one down, and I'll tell you all that one later. So, and then just a plug here, this is my rental, if anybody's got somebody, 5-bedroom, 2-bath, $2,200 in Dickinson. All right, so here's a cool one. So I was actually talking at an event yesterday, and one of the speakers, he bought this from me. So this is a good story. So I had a student, and I've always had students. I just help people, right? And so he had never done a deal. And this was like 8 years ago. And he had a seller that inherited 2 properties in Pasadena. And they were real close to each other. One was on one street, one was a couple streets down. One tenant had been there like 8 years, the other one had been there like 10 years. And he was like, man, these properties have been there forever. It's probably going to be a wreck. And so we go meet him. He had already told us a number. I forget what the number was, but we'll get to that. So we walk in, and I'm with my student and the seller, and we're walking around. I'm like, I was just telling my student, I was like, it's not that bad, kind of quiet, And then we walk out with the seller, and the seller was like, oh, it wasn't that bad. And I was like, dang, you noticed, right? So, yeah. But I forgot, I had given him a range, and again, this was like 8 years ago. Keep that in mind, okay? So I forget my range. I think I had told him I was going to be like 27,000 to 40 grand per house, right? And I said, yes, I agree. It was in better shape than what you were saying, what you were thinking. And I was like, but good news for you. We can talk about negotiating in a little bit if you want to add on those slides. But good news for you. I'm still in that price range I told you. I'm going to be at 32,000. Do we have a deal? Right? Stuck my hand out, and he hesitated. He's like, oh, well, who's going to pay my taxes? What? Okay, he doesn't understand taxes, no problem. I'll explain it to him, right? It's a seller. I said, well, how taxes work is while you own it. I mean, I said it differently, but while you own it, you pay him, and when I own it, I pay. But no, they're prorated, and I explained it all to him, right? And he was like, all right, well, let's go look at that. I was like, yeah, let's go look at the other property. So it was 2 streets down. Went in there. It wasn't as nice as the other one, but it still wasn't too bad. Tenant in there again for like 10 years. And I told him, I was like, yeah, I looked at that one. Okay, so I'm going to be in that range. Why don't I give you 32,000 for this one too? He was like, all right. He's like, all right. He started looking around. But who's going to pay my taxes? I was like, didn't I just answer this guy this question? Did he not understand? All right, what's going on here, right? I was like, you know what? How much are your taxes? Oh, they're going to be $1,800 and something dollars. I was like, oh, why don't I pay your taxes? He was like, yeah, let's do that. It's like, deal. Right? I said, how we're going to structure is I'm going to raise my price $1,800. You're going to take it from there. You're going to pay your taxes. Great. So my point of that is listen to the seller. Don't put you on the seller. You have to go where the seller's taking you and listen. And then try to come up with a good solution. Because price was not his thing. For some reason in his head, the taxes were the pain. So I removed the pain from him. And I got a good deal. Right? So anyway, moving on with the story. So I bought it for $32,000. Again, there were tenants in there. So it's kind of hard to completely redo the place when there's people living there. But we went in there, we put a new roof on, we did some things. And honestly, I had them rented. I've owned it for like 8 years. They both stayed rented. It's in Red Bluff, Pasadena. You don't know, it's probably a great rental area. And so they stayed rented for like 8 years. Let me back up. So on the refinance, they appraised for, I think, 140,000. And what did I do? What did I do? What do you think? I paid myself for buying these houses. All right? How else am I going to pay myself, right? All right? So I think I paid myself $8,000 a piece times 2 is what? $16,000 when I bought them, right? We had them fixed. I'm still in way less than 70% on this one. And then that was on the purchase with private money, right? So then I have to go, but private money is short term. It's typically 6 months, right? But then I fix it and I go and refinance it with the bank, right? And I remember Nick, I refinanced it with him over here. He used to be Texas Citizen, B1 now, NASA. And he was like, well, we give 75% of that. And I was like, all right, Nick, well, I'm in at like 65%. It's my first rental, right? I'm refinancing. He's like, well, we give 75%. Okay, I don't know how this is going to work. If he's going to give us money, I don't know, it's a bank, you know what I mean? They're going to be short them, you know? And, but I go to refinance it, and guess what I do? Guess. Huh?
Pay yourself.
Man, y'all are good. I pay myself again. Right? I pay myself again for buying this house. I think it was like $7,000 a piece again. So I pay myself again $14,000, which is tax what? Free. Free money. No taxes. All right? And I'm in at 75% of value, which is what the bank set and told me that's the number. Right? This is not my number. I'm not making numbers up. I just got a stupid good deal. Oh, on top of that, I paid my student like $6,000 a piece, so he made $12,000 that day. Anyway, so I'm cash flowing. I think at the end before, and then I'm gonna get to the end of the story, but I was making like $430 a month on this one. You know, it's decent for rental. So then I had there was a couple living there. His mom lived next door. I was like, oh, this dude's gonna be here forever, right? Like perfect. And but they get divorced and they move out, break the lease. And I was like, I'm looking at him like, oh man, I'm gonna put like, and I've owned it for 8 years now, right? So some deferred maintenance for sure. I mean, we always were on top of it, but again, there was somebody living in it when we bought it, so we didn't like, it's not like a flip, you know, it's not like we did it good enough for a rental. And, but they moved out, and so, yeah, I was like, am I gonna go put like $30,000 in this thing, 40, maybe 40, and then let my money sit in there, or go refinance it and pull it out again and do this again? Or, again, I've owned it for 8 years, and what does time do with real estate? Any guesses? Time heals with real estate. Yeah, for sure, right? So, now the ARV on this thing is like $230,000. Okay? I owe like 64. So I could, and what I did was I wholesaled this, not wholesale because I owned it, but you get the picture. I sold it at 70% minus repairs. So I sold it for $114,000. So I made $52,000 when I sold it. And how much money out of my pocket do I have in this deal? Zero. Right? Just trying to, right? Open your mind. So that was a great deal. I like that deal. Do y'all like that deal? Yeah. All right. So we're not going to be here for 5 hours. But if you have questions after, that's cool. But in closing, there's many ways to make money in real estate. You must decide which way you like and make that work for you. These are a few examples how I build net worth and cash flow. Of course, I'll be hanging out here. We've got this room for a little while. Just open your mind when I talk about these deals to what you can do with these deals when you have a good deal. And if you have a good deal, please keep me in mind. You know, I'm buying or we're doing all kinds of things right now. We're actually changing with this market, which we can talk about. But y'all saw we're building duplexes. We might be owner financing some of our rentals. We're wholesaling and we're buying. If you need help with a deal, let me know. If you're looking to make a good return on your money backed by real estate and me and my business partner, let me know. And we have a high net worth, so that helps too. So, in closing, and do me a favor, we're gonna now take a picture because again, I have a new job, right? And so, yeah, if y'all could support me with that, yeah. So let's take a picture, guys. Let me see. I don't know. Let me see. There we go. Try to. You know what? Let me see. Can you take it?
Yeah.
All right. Try to get us on.
Okay, 1, 2, 3. There you go.
Awesome. So yeah, please. That's my social media on Facebook. Follow me, please. On the left, it's just Nathan Haley. That's my Instagram, my TikTok, but mostly Facebook if you can. And because I'm gonna be posting y'all on there, and y'all can be like, "Hey, that's me." Yeah.
You mentioned, I saw that you had realtor fees, and you're a realtor. How does that work? Are you paying another realtor to list your property, or you basically understand?
Yeah, I mean, I listed for a while, and someone told me one time, Nathan, what are you making more money with, being a realtor or an investor? And I was like, well, the investor. I'm like, okay, go focus on that, right? So, yes, I have a realtor that I hire that helps me. That's also an investor. So, yeah. Yes, sir.
Question about hard money.
Yeah.
So if you, the hard money is going to be in first position, obviously.
Yes.
Can you put a private money lender in second position to handle the construction costs?
If they're good with it, it's private money.
Yeah.
Right? So, you know, you can be creative with private money. It's private money. It's just somebody with money in their checking account. So I've done where, hey, this is a really good deal. You know, what we'd like to do, and you just let me know if you're good with it, is we're going to have payments accruing. All right? So what does that mean? That means we agree to pay this amount, $1,200 a month, right? But then we get paid in the back end when we sell it. Right? So we don't make the monthly payments, it comes off in the back end. Right? We've done that. We've done partnerships. We've done, a majority of ours is we're making monthly payments. Right? But I'm just saying you can be as creative as you want to and that they're good with and you're good with. Okay? Any other questions?
I got one that might be beneficial for the whole room. So I've done a seller finance wrap. Did a seller finance wrap, and the one thing, you know, you get the no call on you pretty quickly.
You got the no call?
No, I didn't,
Oh.
but that's the risk that I talked about with my private investor. And I had a lawyer look over the whole loan terms and conditions and everything, and she said, hey, look, like, it doesn't insinuate anything, you know. Now, the deed of trust said they could call it, but have you found a workaround for that? Because I don't want to have 10 of those, you know, maybe 1 or 2, but do you know anybody that does wraps like that? Because there's a lot more cash flow, you know, because you just do a rate and term.
Good question. So we were looking at doing wraps on our rentals. And what is a wrap? That means that there is a lien on the property from a bank for whatever, 6%, you're paying this much a month, right? 30-year term, 20-year maybe. And you're now selling this property, financing it for the buyer at a higher rate, right? You're here to make money at a higher rate than what you have. And typically you're going to have equity, so at a higher price, right? And you make the difference, and you pay your bank the regular mortgage payment you've been paying them this whole time, right? So that's what a wrap is. Now, usually in the paperwork and the details that most people don't read, it states in there that if you do that, they can call the note completely due, whatever you owe, the whole thing. It's due now, right? But, so, I talked to one of my private lenders, he's lent me millions of dollars, and I asked him about this because he did a lot of owner finance. But his was mostly with his cash, and he didn't like the wraps, he kind of threw us off from that. I mean, we haven't done it. Because we were looking at it, but we haven't done it. And then we talked to another guy who does it, and he didn't like it either. You know, he's like, you just gotta be ready to pay it off. You know, from what I'm hearing, and then I hear, oh, you're not here. Another guy who does a bunch of them, and he's like, most of the people that have been doing it for a while, they're like, oh, maybe 1-2% will get called. You know, that's what they tell me. But that's a risk that you have to take. Yeah. Is there?
So, the difference between hard money and private money question. I know typically with hard money, you know, it goes out to like 6 months, but hopefully you'll get done prior to that. Private money, what is your average term for lending on private money?
Yeah. So for me, I'm just talking personal, right? I've had those as little as 8% to 13%, with either a point or so in there also. So that's just what I've had over the years, you know. And again, it's just what the lender, what you are good with, what you're willing to accept, what they're willing to do, along with just trusting each other.
The term, how long?
6 months, with 2 3-month extensions that you pay for if you need them. Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
Go back and actually, on wraps, on the subject to, well, overall, and we want to do it, but we're kind of in a position as it is, is that if you get a house link from the seller, and keep that on file, if it ever comes as a dual sale clause, the other two stuff, you then still have it, you have to take that power of attorney, and you put the property back in their name. And then, usually as long as the payments are being made, you're good, and then you can do that. So there's some back and forth with power of attorney, but you also have to have your own homeowner insurance policy on it. Because a lot of days, if you're not escrow, then you'll have to send in proof that you have the home covered. If they see a different name on it, that's gonna alert them, if something happens.
She's talking about a subject
So
to.
let's don't confuse the two.
Yeah, they're different.
Because there's a wrap,
Mm-hmm.
and then there's a subject to.
Yeah.
Subject to, from the investor standpoint, I'm taking over John Doe's property.
Mhm.
I am the owner, I control the paper.
Mm-hmm.
A wrap is your property, you have a Chase loan on it, and you're selling it to John Doe. That's what the wrap is.
I think you're talking about wrapping a subject to, correct?
You can't-
Yeah, so
You guys.
this is getting a little,
That's
maybe
a little hairy.
complicated.
Yeah.
But basically, to me, I think I'm good at making things simple. So a subject to is different than a wrap. A subject to is you're taking over the mortgage and the amortization, everything that is there, subject to its existing financing. Assuming is another word for it, right?
That's what the bank wants you to do.
And then she's talking about doing that and then wrapping that to a new buyer, right? Which then you have that, and yeah, then you can be like, but then what are you doing with the buyer, right? Yeah. So in my case, it's just rentals that I own that I was looking to wrap. So they're a little different, but.
And on assumptions, goes out there, unless there would be a,
On
unless it's a VA loan.
a VA loan?
Yeah, there are ones that typically can go in,
Yeah.
whether you're really rather than not, but other typical conventional, seems one that is stronger.
Yeah, so assumption, basically, I think you still have to qualify for that, right? So you have to go in with a credit and with all that. So if you're doing all that, just go get your own house, right? Okay. So, but I mean, there are some benefits, and there's a lot of guys. I was actually at one just because I did newsflash, maybe, or maybe I don't care. But I joined EXP, so yeah, and we're gonna be having meetings and stuff on investing. So if you're interested, let me know. But they went to a Pace Morby thing, which he's all about subject to, and so I went. But I don't know. I'm still My first flip was a subject to, but it was a flip. I wasn't keeping it, you know, and it went very well. She was gonna lose it. I caught her up on her mortgage, helped her credit. I put a little money in it, and it made a little money, you know. And I was in and out in less than 6 months. So, but I don't know. Subject twos for me are still kind of risky. Yeah. Yes, sir.
So subject twos, they are hairy because we as investors some investors have not done them correctly.
Yeah.
So subject twos were very prominent back when the last crash was.
Mm-hmm.
And it's about, so to make it simple, when I tell you about subject two, if you are, let's just say a famous person, this is Rod Stewart, just one name. He put his property isn't in Rod Stewart's name. It's in such and such trust.
Yeah.
If you keep that mindset when you do subject twos, you have the right to put your property into a trust. And if you keep that mindset when you put it in a trust, you're not breaking the deed of trust, you're not breaking the warranty, you're meeting all the lender's compliance, and that's what the basis of subject two is done when it's done correctly.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you just go change the warranty and put it into your name, you've blown the whole deal up.
So you're saying as the subject to person acquiring it, you put it into a trust?
You put it into the trust. Now, there's a lot of paperwork behind that, I won't go into that, but if you meet the mindset that if you put it into a trust, then you have the right to do certain things.
The bank get notified then, won't they?
No. And if they do, you can show, hey, I'm still an owner, I'm just put it in the trust. So,
And the other thing why it's so popular is because the rates are higher, right?
yeah.
And so if you're doing a subject to, sometimes you're taking over 3% or 4% mortgage, right? So that's why.
And that's why banks aren't calling old loans that are up at 6, 7, 8%. They're not gonna call a loan to call so you think you'll get a loan. They got the same money at 5.
Yeah.
And they got it at 9.
Yeah, it's a very low rate that gets called, from what I hear. Yes,
To
ma'am.
add to the trust, you will lose your homestead exemption. And that's the really good benefit of that.
Mm.
Taxes
It's just a name.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Awesome. Other questions? Good. I'll be hanging out, so y'all can leave. Hope y'all got something out of it. Again, if you did, follow me on Facebook. But no, I'll be having